So welcome and thank you for joining us today. We're here to discuss how Apsona can take you from data chaos to clarity with our holistic Salesforce solutions. Before we dive in, if you have any questions regarding the content or Apsona features, put those questions in the Q&A section and Lori and I will hold time at the end to give you some answers. I'll introduce our speakers today. We have Lori Gardner, our awesome solution engineer. Lori, would you like to say some things about yourself?
Sure. I mean, after awesome, what else could I possibly say? Hello, everyone. Lori Gardner, solution engineer at Apsona. I've been at Apsona for a little over a year, but been working with the product for about 8 years. So I come here with a lot of experience. Aaliyah, to you.
Awesome. I'm Aaliyah Walker, marketing coordinator at Apsona. Been with Apsona for almost 2 years. My 2-year anniversary is coming up in May sometime. So excited for that. I really enjoy setting up webinars like this to keep our customers and community informed about all the different ways that Apsona can make your life easier. Just a brief introduction of Apsona. Apsona has been a trusted solution in the Salesforce ecosystem for over 13 years, serving organizations of all sizes and across more than 10 industries. Apsona is really designed to complement Salesforce's existing functionality, enhancing your productivity, streamlining your workflows, and enabling users to make data-driven decisions with ease. Our mission at Apsona is to empower users by giving them complete control over their data, allowing them to view it in a flexible table, drill up and down, generate reports, cleanse your records, and generate documents seamlessly and from one intuitive platform. So if you are a new attendee, put a 1 in the chat and put a 2 in the chat if you've been to at least one other Apsona webinar, just to see what our engagement's been like. Awesome. I see a 1. Nice. Great to have you here and welcome back if you've been to a webinar before.
I'm seeing lots of ones.
Oh, wow. I do see lots of 1s. Great. For the next few minutes, I'm going to overview Apsona's shift to bundles. And if you're new, Apsona has moved away from an a la carte pricing model to a more bundled pricing model to give you more value, more feature sets. And let's move on. So why shift to Apsona Bundles? Bundles really combine the value of Apsona products into one suite. So you get all of the products, and I'll kind of go into a deeper dive in the next slide. But you really spend less time managing multiple workflows in different applications. Bundles empower users to streamline those complex or disconnected processes. Customers can be much more successful with a suite of products rather than 1 to 3, and can experience some long-term cost savings, preventing the need for multiple and incremental purchases. So on this next slide, I kind of have bundles laid out. Feel free to take any screenshots to save. I'll also be providing the recording post-webinar. So one of the biggest challenges we see with Salesforce users is that they start by needing just one solution. Maybe document merge. We're widely known for being a doc merge friendly tool. Customers quickly realize that they need much more. They need clean data, effective ways to bring data into Salesforce, automation for reporting and documents, and more complex reporting. So that's where the bundles come in. Instead of piecing together different apps from multiple vendors, each with its own contracts and pricing and learning curve, we provide an all-in-one solution. The bundles are really designed to grow with your needs in your organization, eliminating the hassle of juggling separate tools for DocGen, reporting, and data management. With Apsona, everything just works together seamlessly. To give you a brief overview of the bundles, the essentials for 3 to 9 users is perfect for teams that need core doc merge, reporting, and dedupe tools to start managing their data more efficiently. The Apsona Advanced Bundle adds automation features like scheduling reports and document merges, making it easier to streamline those types of workflows versus doing it manually, copying and pasting, or just using a more complex tool. The premium bundle includes everything in advance as well as the essentials, and is really designed for larger organizations with more complex data needs. I know that was a lot. So questions again in the Q&A chat. And now I will pass it to Lori as she showcases how the bundles solve common Salesforce challenges.
Awesome. Thank you, Leah. That was a very succinct summary. I'm gonna steal sharing from you, right?
Sure.
Okay, that way that's just easier. Okay, everybody's seeing my screen. It should look exactly like what Aaliyah was just showing. So one of the things that Aaliyah mentioned is one of the features of Apsona, or one of the ways that we see it being valuable for our customers and myself. I was once a customer too. So this is one of the, I think, advantages of a tool like Apsona, managing data. What does managing data mean? Updates, doing mass updates, importing data, being able to filter and segment your data, and also managing duplicate records. So I'm going to just jump right into Apsona and show you what I'm talking about. So there's a lot of importing tools out there, but Apsona makes it really easy. So let's say you've got a file of contacts that from whatever source, a third-party tool, event registrants, whatever they are. You've got a file. I'm going to launch into Apsona's import tool where I can either import new records or update existing records. So this is another way that you can mass update records as well. I can either copy and paste data like I just did, or I can actually just select a file. I have some options for how duplicates are handled, which is kind of unique in Apsona in that you do have the ability to check for duplicate records while it's doing the import. And then you get to choose how those duplicates are handled and what are the fields that are used to match those records. It gives you some options, but I also have the ability to create my own algorithm based on any contact field. So I'm going to leave this at email first and last name. My list is tab delimited. On the next step, I would map the fields from my source to the fields in Apsona, in Salesforce. Notice that it has automatically mapped several of my fields. Anything that wasn't already the exact column name, I need to map manually. However, I can save the mapping. So if you regularly get data from the same source in the same format, you can save that mapping, and so you don't have to do it every time. I click next. It's ready for importing. I click the import button. If I had run into any errors, it would allow me to actually correct the errors here in the import tool. I don't need to go back to my file or re-import the data, reload the file. I can do that right in Apsona. Once I get to the end, I can download my list of import results, and I can click this link to go to the records. So now if this was, say, I imported a list of gifts and I now need to send a gift acknowledgement, I've got the list right here that I can easily send those documents to. So let's say that I happen to notice, either while doing that import or running some other report, that there was some data that didn't quite match our internal data standards. I noticed that one of the values for the country field wasn't United States spelled out, and that's what our internal data standards call for. So I've created a simple report that is just filtering for any country very broadly that starts with U, but I'm excluding United States. That's the proper one, and some other countries that begin with U. When I run this report, it's going to list for me all of the records that meet that criteria. I can use the visualization tab to summarize that information. I've chosen to do this as a simple grouped summary, but I can also create bar charts and pie charts and some other types of visualizations as well. So now looking at this list, I can see here's all of my bad values. It wasn't just those couple of records that I noticed. I've got a bigger data issue here, and now I need to fix it. So using Apsona's tabular view and a filter on that country field, specifically for the values that I now know are all the bad ones, I've got a list of all the records that need to be corrected. I could do this one at a time in Apsona, where I can just click into that field, apply the correct value, and click save, or I can choose to, using the tools menu, simply update all the records, select the field that I need, and give it the proper value, and then click update, and all the records will be corrected. Also, I could pick and choose different records, do the exact same thing. I select update checked. Now only notice those 3 records will be updated rather than all of them. One of the other important tasks as an admin of Salesforce is keeping duplicate records under control. And at Apsona, we typically recommend that you take sort of an iterative approach to deduping, where you're going to have more than one action that you'd create that identifies duplicate records. You'd start off with a very strict matching criteria, where in this case, I'm matching on email, city, first and last name, and street. If I find any records where all of those fields are matching, I'm pretty sure it's truly a duplicate. Should point out while we're here that Apsona comes with some match functions. These are all listed on our website in our support documentation with examples and an explanation of each. Some of them you kind of can get the idea, something like, first number of letters or words. Street address would handle something like road versus RD or street versus ST and identify those as duplicates. I can also apply a fuzzy or alphanumeric contraction, and I can ignore word order. I can add some additional fields that might be helpful in evaluating those duplicates. I've got some grouping options, and where I can apply rules to identify which record should be my master, as well as how non-master fields are handled. When I click find, based on the filter that I've applied in the first step, and the match fields, the matching rule that I've established, it's finding all the records that meet that criteria. And I can see it's examined 18,000 records and found 4 groups. If I was absolutely sure that these were duplicates, I might just click the merge all button. Looking at this, I might say, oh yeah, this one's definitely a match. These are all duplicates. I'll click merge all. If I wasn't sure, I can click this little kind of combined arrow, and I get to see all of the fields from each of those records compared side by side. I can choose to see all the fields or just the ones that are mismatched. Then I have the option of picking and choosing records from different, or values from different records. Click merge so I can kind of do my own custom merge of those records. The other thing I can do with the duplicate tool, love this, I can export the grid data, which is the values that I see, what I've chosen either as match fields or additional fields, or I can export all the data, meaning in this case, all the contact fields. If I didn't like the record that was chosen as the master record based on the rules that I created, I can easily change the master just by clicking on it. You can see the master record is the one with the checkbox, and it's also kind of, it's not kind of, it is bold. And with that, I will jump back over to presentation. And let's talk about reporting. This is pretty much the main reason I fell in love with Apsona. There were so many limitations that I was running into with Salesforce's standard reporting tools, the native Lightning report tool, or even creating custom reports, where you're really limited with which objects can be included together in one report. There were some limitations on filtering, and with Apsona, we can get around all of that. So let me jump back over to Apsona. So the biggest issue, the biggest challenge that I had as a Salesforce admin or as someone who's tasked with creating reports is including all the data that I need in one report. Enter multi-step reports in Apsona. A step is essentially an object. There are a couple other types of objects that you can create as well. I'm going to give you just some of the highlights here. So looking at a multi-step report, you can see in this report, I've got 11 steps. Ooh, side note, at a recent conference, we met an Apsona user who had 60 steps in one report. So these can get pretty complex. So in my first step, and within each step, you'll see several tabs. On the first step, I'm selecting which object I want. The second step, I choose the fields that I want to see in my output. The third step, I'm choosing which records I want. This is where I'm applying my filter. This is my selection criteria. So in this case, I want not deceased people who Higher Ed Harry is the manager of those accounts, and they've also attended an event in 2025. Notice here that I'm using a nested filter. What that means is I've saved a population. This is a saved filter, and this is something that's really unique to Apsona, where I've saved a population of people, and I can, in this case, contacts, or I should say a population of records, and then I can use that to either include or exclude in another filter. On my second step, I'm now using the relationship object, again, the same tabs within each step, but on the linkage step, on the linkage tab, I'm actually connecting my spouse record to my contacts. So obviously I'm getting the spouses for the contacts that are selected in the first step. Something else that is unique in Apsona is that I am reusing that relationship object at step 8, only here I'm filtering for child relationships, whereas on step 2, I was filtering for spousal type relationships. Both are linked back to the contact step by the contact ID. I'm also including some account information, some recent giving information, and just want to point out here, because this is something you also can't do with a custom report type in standard, the Lightning report builder. I've created multiple paths from my starting object. I'm linking from the contact to the spouse, and from the contact to the account, and from the contact to another relationship step. And the account is linked to the most recent gift. The gift allocation is linked to the gift. So I'm not only creating multiple paths, but paths within those paths. So let me run this so you can see what it looks like. You can see here, this is the information, oops, that's not what I wanted to do, that I've included from the contact step. As I scroll over, now you can see here's my spouse step and that related information, the account information I brought in, there's my most recent gifts, allocation, tasks, events, children. Oh, and look at that. I've got children 1 and children 2, but I didn't have 2 child steps in my report. I was able to do that because Apsona allows you to show row data in columns. That way, the same contact doesn't get repeated if they have more than 1 child. And realistically, you'd probably bump that up a few more notches. Who only has 2 kids anymore? The other type of step you can create is calculations, where calculations can be mathematic operations, but they can also be conditional statements. If then else, you can apply JavaScript methods, you can create functions. So there's a lot of power with calculated fields. I am going to show you another example, just some other types of filters that can be applied. So I talked a little bit already about those saved filters where I can include a population or exclude a population. Like in this case, I've created a separate filter that searches for anyone, a contact who is either deceased or doesn't want to be contacted. And I've saved that group of people so that in filters, in other reports, in other filters, I can either include or exclude that population. I'm also able to filter on child records. And what I mean by that is in this report, the step is based on the account object, but I'm able to filter on the opportunity object, which means anything that the account object is a parent of or is a child object of the account would potentially have multiple records, right? So what we're saying here is I only want accounts that have at least one opportunity that is not in the pledged stage. I can also use this all records or no records. So this could be another way of excluding a population of records as well. I also have the ability to use and or combinations, and these can get pretty lengthy as well as you add more and more filters. The last thing I wanted to touch on is Apsona's charting and dashboard features, where I would say that the Lightning dashboards are a little more zazzy. They've got some more features, but what they don't have is the power of Apsona's reporting tools behind them. And there are some pretty cool features with Apsona's dashboards as well, in that I have the option of either showing the chart or showing the data. So I can toggle back and forth between that. I can pop out any piece of those the dashboard components into if I wanted to dig in a little deeper. I also have the ability to share a snapshot, meaning I can download it, copy the link and share that with someone, or I can send it to someone via email. And I know I was nonstop talking. Were there any questions, Aaliyah?
Yes, we do have a couple questions. And I'll just kind of go down the chat. It says, can you please describe the different license types? Lori, since you have up the presentation, I added the specialized versus standard license.
Sorry, am I taking the long way to get it to it? Do I need to refresh this maybe?
Yeah, you might need to refresh it. And it's towards the bottom.
Ooh, that's going to give anyone a headache. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so in a nutshell, feel free to read all the words that are on the screen, but basically a standard license has full access to all the capabilities in Apsona. A specialized license is more for someone who maybe another user, someone with a standard or full license, has created a report, but me, the specialized licensed user, I just need to run the report. I just need to click a button. I just need to run a report. I'm not going to create reports or create merge actions. And I can kind of show you, let me jump over here and just go to a home page. So as a specialized license user, I couldn't do what you just saw me doing with the filters and creating reports, but someone could share a link with me that actually launches an Apsona report or a button that runs an Apsona merge action. And that can be shared on any Salesforce page. This is actually just a regular Salesforce homepage.
Okay. What if we only need 15 to 20 full license, full access, and 100 button only?
What is the question there? I think if I'm understanding the question is you don't need the same number of full and specialized licenses. You can buy however many standard licenses that you need and how many ever specialized licenses that you need. Did I answer that question correctly?
Let us know if we gave you the answer you were looking for. All right. When merging, how does it determine which account to keep?
Oh, that is based on the rules that you set up. Let me see if I still have that open. Nope, it's right here. So on the master and field rules step, you define a scoring mechanism that will determine whichever one gets the highest score is the one that is kept as the master record. And that's the one that when you see in the results is bold and has the little blue check mark. But if when you're reviewing the data before you merge it, you realize, oh no, this should be the master, you can change it manually just by clicking on it.
Great. Field names by label or by API?
Field names in reports?
I think that's when you were talking about the.
Oh, okay. So, and yeah, actually, that's a great question, and something that I should mention because it was one of the things that drove me crazy about Lightning reports is that I couldn't change the titles of my columns. But in Apsona, I can click on any column and rename it. If I wanted this to say full name, oh, that's actually what it's originally called. So, whatever. Maybe I want it to be called first and last name. But you can see this here is the actual, this is the label, like the Salesforce label, and this is the actual API name. So what you see listed here is going to be the label, but you can see both of them. And in fact, I think if you just mouse over a field, it also shows you both. I'm not sure that answered the question.
Can these dashboards be integrated into Salesforce? And I just renewed this year, so when does this begin?
Oh, when does the bundling begin? So it was as of January 1st. However, if you've just renewed, when your renewal comes around again, you'll probably be prompted to switch to the bundling. I mean, you can switch anytime, but that's probably when you would likely switch. Oh, and the dashboard question, there's a couple ways you could do that. You can, let me see, what's the quickest way to get there. So there is an option to embed lots of different types of components in Apsona on a page in Salesforce. You can create a button or a Visualforce page, and a dashboard is one of those options. So it can be either as a standalone page or as a related list of a record that, an object that would be an applicable record.
I do not have multi-step reporting or dashboards. Is that because I am on an older license? Do I need to upgrade?
Sounds like a yes. If you do not see under reporting tools, if you only see single step reports, that likely means that yes, you are on our original a la carte model where multi-step reports was a separate purchase, which you still can do. You can still add that on if you'd like, if your renewal isn't coming up and you want to keep the timing of that. That's entirely up to you. And Aaliyah, should they, for something like that, message sales at Apsona?
Yep.
Okay.
Sales at Apsona to create a case. Yeah.
Okay, great.
I'm not sure if I asked this already, but where does the end user see the dashboard? Can we add those to the other Salesforce dashboards? It's like a tongue twister.
Yeah. So like I was just saying, there's a bunch of ways that you can share dashboards, but also if I am whether I'm a fully licensed user, a standard user, or a specialized licensed user, I still have access to Apsona. I can still see the Apsona tab. If I have a specialized license, I won't see any of the objects because I don't have permission to perform the tasks that one can do for data management, but I can see the reports, which would include dashboards. So I would have that view capability within Apsona as well. Great questions, everyone.
I know, right? And Quinn says, sorry, I was asking about mapping from external column name to Salesforce field. Does it work only with label or if column is API name, would it be recognized? I think this was when you were doing importing.
Oh.
The column names.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it would only recognize, I think it only recognizes the label, but like I said, once you've created the mapping, you can just save that mapping and you never have to map it again. You would just load it as you when you select your file, in fact, here, I can just go over to that option. So the first thing you would do is select a saved mapping that you have, and that would automatically, when you get to that next step, have all of the columns already mapped that you need.
Perfect. And how does one, I think this is the last one. Sorry, Lori.
That's okay.
How does one create a group such as Event Attendees 2025? We add attendees to individual campaigns as members. Is there a way to group that into what you showed, or a better way to group people for events?
Yes. Okay. Okay. So the way I created that one, same thing. It was just, I selected, so at the contact level, I'm filtering on a child record campaign member and then selected the specific campaigns. But if you're an organization that has like 100 events every year and you don't want to go through and click every single checkbox, there's likely something on the campaign definition that says it's an event, like the campaign type or something like that. In which case, what you can do is have another nested filter. So here, what I would do is select the campaign member ID that's in a filter, and then I would select, oh, look at that, I have them created, all event attendees based on the campaign type instead of based on the name of the campaign. I'm like digging one layer deeper in creating that. So now I could actually, if I go over to campaign members, if I find that object, I'm going to see this event attendees filter as well. Is that kind of what you meant?
Think we got all the questions. Thank you guys for staying over. We still have people here. Okay, we do. So I will be following up with the recording, some additional resources. Please visit the pricing page if you want a more in-depth look at the bundles. And thank you guys for your time.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.